This right here is the King B2 from Neat Microphones, but really it's from Turtle Beach, you know, the gaming company. Is that confusing? Well, okay, so here's what's going on. Back in 2021, Turtle Beach bought Neat, the company, so they could have access to a line of USB mics for gaming. But right about the same time, and I don't actually know which happened first, Neat released the King B2. Now, it's definitely not a gaming mic, at least not in the usual sense. So, like, what gives? Who is it really for? And always the most important thing for me, is it suitable for content creators? So yes, the mic has been around for a couple of years, and yes, Turtle Beach did send it to me in hopes that I would review it, and yeah, I'm gonna review it. Now, this is not a paid review, other than the fact that I received the mic for free. And I should mention that I found something really interesting when I took this mic apart, and I haven't seen any other reviewers talk about this, even after several years of production of this mic, but we'll get to that in a moment. So, let's check out the mic. The first thing you notice about the King B2 is its unusual shape. It is definitely not a standard issue tube-shaped Neumann-style microphone. It is more of a retro style with the baby bottle kind of head on top, but it's also very angular, and so it has a sort of futuristic retro kind of look. It's also really heavy. It's like a hunk of iron when you pick it up, and when I put it on the boom arm here, the boom arm was going, really? Really? Are you sure? It seemed like it was actually kind of almost reaching the maximum that this boom arm could hold. So you want to make sure that you have a strong boom arm, or you've got a stand to support it. When you take the King B2 out of its box, it's all just one unit. There's no pieces that you have to assemble or anything like that. And it does have a pop filter, and it does have a shock mount, but I think they're meant, just to be used as a single unit most of the time. In fact, I had to contact the manufacturer and say, how do I get the pop filter off? It didn't quite come off the way the instructions said it would. And you can also, there's a thumb wheel where you can unscrew the microphone from the shock mount. However, it's on there so tightly that I'd have to go get some tools to loosen it, and I don't want to end up messing the finish while I'm reviewing it. And also, I don't need to take it out. This is a condenser microphone. It requires phantom power, and it's got an XLR connection. And now the XLR cable, I noticed it won't click in and lock with this microphone. My cables work with all of my other mics, so there's something about this microphone that won't allow it to latch properly. Now, the cable is in there pretty firmly. It's not going to come out unless you're swinging the microphone around or something, but it's just something to be aware of. So this is a cardioid only microphone. It's a 34 millimeter capsule inside, which means it's probably about a 25 millimeter diaphragm. Now the website says it's a proprietary capsule. I did take it apart though, and it's a center mounted capsule, so it could be a K67 style capsule. I'm not really sure. So I mentioned it's a cardioid only microphone. It has no switches for changing polar patterns, of course, but it also has no switches for anything else. There's no EQ filtering, low or high roll off or anything like that. It's just the microphone is basically what you see is what you get, or what you hear. So the King B2 has a sensitivity of about minus 31 dBA, which is, definitely respectable for a condenser mic. It also has a maximum SPL of 140 dB. Did I get that right? Yeah, 140 dB, which is pretty impressive for a microphone that doesn't have any pads. I mentioned earlier that I took the microphone apart. I couldn't actually get access to the front of the capsule, but I could see kind of through the grill that it was a center terminated diaphragm. However, I noticed something really interesting that they don't mention anywhere in their documentation. There is built-in shock absorption that's holding the actual capsule kind of suspended in this rubber stretchy stuff. So you've got some shock absorption built into the diaphragm or the capsule itself, as well as the external shock mount. So you're going to get some shock absorption even if you take this out of the mount and stick it on a regular mic stand. All right, let's put this mic through the ringer here. Now I'm going to test the shock absorption first. So I'm going to pound on the boom arm a little bit. And then I'm going to pound on the outside of the cage. And then I'm going to pound on the actual head of the microphone itself. Whoa, that's a rocking and rolling there. Okay, so plosive test. Now I've got the pop filter on. We'll do it, let's see, let's get about a fist away here, and then I'll take the pop filter off afterwards as well. Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. All right, let's take that pop filter off, if I can remember how. Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. So the microphone head basket design actually has foam on this this back sort of semi or hemisphere here or circle, as well as in the front. So even when you take the dedicated pop filter off, you still have a little bit of protection. All right, let me try and put this thing back on. The King B2 goes for about $170, and so I'm going to compare it to some other microphones, but I don't have a lot of microphones in the $170 range. In fact, I mean, I've either got $100 microphones or I've got like $300 and up, but I do have one microphone that's about $175. It's a very different mic though. But so let's compare how this sounds with some of the other mics I have laying around. Now in my hands I have a microphone that, like I said, is priced about the same as the King B2. However, this is the CAD Audio Equitek E100SX, and it is a very different sounding mic for the price. It's a lot darker. It's very unique actually in the microphone world for something in this price range. Now I'm hand holding these microphones because I'm too lazy to put them all on the boom arm for such a short thing. But now this microphone, it does not have a pop filter, so if you're working with vocals, you got to get a pop filter. Now it does have a shock mount. It's a very slimline shock mount, so if you looked at it, you might not even think it had one, but it does have one. It also has some switches, and so you have it's got a low roll off, so if you want to get rid of some rumble that you're picking up, that's great to have that. It also has a 10 dB pad. Yeah, I'm just checking and make sure it was 10 dB. So it's got some extra features, but again, the sound quality is just very, very different from the King B2. So the only reason I'm comparing it is because it's in the same price range. All right, now you're listening to the MXL V67G, and this is a large diaphragm condenser microphone, just like the King B2 and the CAD Audio Equitek. Now, this diaphragm is, I believe, 25 millimeters, capsule 34 millimeters, so very similar to the King B2. Could even be the same diaphragm. I don't know. This microphone goes for about $100 though, rather than $170. Now, like the King B, there are no switches or controls, so the sound you get is the sound you get. Unlike the King B, you basically get nothing else. There's a really basic mic clip to allow you to put it on a stand, but there's no shock mount at all, and there's no pop filter either. So you're going to need at least a pop filter and possibly a shock mount. Now you're listening to the Electronics SE2200, and we're getting up there in price a little bit. This is closer to $300. It has the exact same capsule size, though, as the King B2. It does also come with a pop filter, but it's a circular pop filter that's mounted a bit further away. It mounts into the shock mount, which it also comes with as well. So, and it's a metal circular pop filter, and having that distance further away from the diaphragm helps reduce pops more. However, this microphone is really susceptible to pops if you're not using the pop filter. So along with the pop filter and the shock mount, it has some switches. And this time you've got a pad with two variations. You got -10 and -20 dB. It also has a low roll-off filter with two positions, so you can roll it off at two different frequencies depending on how much roll-off you need. And I think it's like 80 and 160 dB, but I'll put the number up right there. Okay, so first, the positives. I think this mic performs really well for the price. It's incredibly sturdy and well built, and that internal shock mount up here, in addition to the external one, is a really thoughtful touch. The multiple layers of pop filtering going on up here too that's really welcome as well. Although I do find it surprising that the mic is still letting through the occasional pop, considering all those layers of foam up here. here. Now, I suspect it's because there's just not that much of an air gap between I guess it's an external pop filter, and the mic capsule. So there's really nowhere for that blast of air to spread out. Now, I typically position my mics to one side of my mouth like this, and I do that so that you can see my face on camera, and the King Bee II seems to handle this pretty well. Now, without the pop filter and speaking directly into the mic, as you heard, it really got crushed by plosives. But that could be said for many condenser mics out there. From a sound quality standpoint, the low end sounds a little rolled off or a little thinner compared to the SE2200. The frequency response that Neat provides in their documentation is a little hard to read, but it does appear to support what I'm hearing. It shows a roll off starting at around 50 Hertz. But on the other hand, it's not as thin and crispy as the V67G, so I would say it's a slightly bright mic, but not overly so. And of course, comparing it to the E100SX like I did is kind of pointless because the E100 has a really unique sound. One other downside, as I mentioned earlier, is the weight. It weighs almost 2.5 pounds, which is a hefty chunk of metal. So make sure you're using a sturdy boom arm or mic stand for this thing. So would I recommend it for content creators? Yes, as long as you don't mind the size and weight. It sounds good for the price and performs really well under day-to-day use. And it does have a distinctive look. So if you like that look, and why not, go for it.